Welcome back, number 25, Kevin Stevens.
We're all gonna have choices in life. 28 years old, never did a drug in my life. Someone handed me something. So one 30-second decision I made changed the past of my life. For the next 24 years, my life went like this. We're on TV now, so it's kind of
scary.
You know, our radio and our podcast can see on TV, which is kind of new to us. So painfully, like I sat with you guys all for a long time, guys, and sat there and say it's never going to be me. You know, now I'm sitting here talking to you guys because it was me. I know how those people feel because I've been in those situations where I've been stuck, and when you're in it, you can't see it. It's very hard. It's a very difficult thing, addiction and substance abuse, and people need help, and we have to get out there and kind of educate people and try to do the best we can to help them. Welcome to Crosscheck. I am Kevin Stevens, and today we got another great show. You know, we got the district attorney of Plymouth County, then we got a state trooper here, and we have the parents who lost one of a son, and now they're turning it into helping other people. So I'll turn over my buddy Andy, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Kevin. As you said, we do have a great show today, and we'll get to our guests in a few. But before we get started with them, let's meet the other members of our team. Of course, we have Alyssa Horton, recovery specialist.
Hi.
Buccos fan.
Buccos fan. What?
Yeah.
I stole your hat.
Pirates fan. Alex Pazanson, founder of the Abington Substance Coalition.
Correct.
And Abington resident.
And Abington resident.
And
Alyssa's
entrepreneur.
an Abington
I'm an
resident.
Abington resident.
You are. You both are.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody
I followed him here.
Okay, there you go. Everybody have a good Fourth.
We did.
Yeah.
Great time.
Awesome. Everybody's tan. Looks like they've gotten outside, so that's cool. So sadly, last week we lost a true champion in the fight against addiction. We lost three-term mayor of Brockton, Bill Carpenter, who died unexpectedly at 62. And he loved the city of Brockton, and he did so much to help fight the addiction crisis in the community. And he actually received national recognition.
He did.
Yeah, for his champion plan that he started in 2016. And
Mm-hmm.
he helped people get into treatment for drug addiction. And actually last year, it helped 700 people find treatment last year, which is awesome. And Kevin and I actually met him in 2018, and we've done some stuff with him. Kevin's done a lot of speaking and worked with him. And he was actually on a radio show with Corin Cappiello to talk about the champion program. And so I wanted to get your thoughts, Kevin, on the mayor.
Yeah, it's obviously it's way too young. He was a guy. I think I met him a long time ago. He was doing some radio stuff, and when I got traded from Pittsburgh to Boston, I don't know where. I know it was at the Chai. He interviewed me. I didn't know him obviously as the mayor. He's the mayor now, and I did a lot of things with him. We've done different speaking things. I've been to different places with him, and he's just a normal guy. That's the best thing about Mayor that I got from Mayor Carpenter was he's a pretty personal guy, and he's a guy that just wanted to make a difference. He was out there a lot. He worked hard. I was talking to Alex about it before. He was still out there when he was sick, trying to do the best he can do for Brockton. And, he's a great guy. And obviously 62 is, way too early.
It was shocking.
Oh,
it was shocking. You knew him well, too.
I did. Actually, him and I graduated from Asheville High together, but we didn't know that until 30 years later.
Okay.
When I moved to Abington, I called an insurance company, and he was the guy that came out. So we got to know each other then, and then he was a ring announcer, and I knew Richie and Mike Cappiello well, so I went to all their fights, so I knew him more through that. And then when he became mayor, and when I was a selectman, he was my first call on how to set up the Abington Substance Abuse Coalition.
Okay.
And he came to the first meeting we had, and one of our guests, the DA today, sent someone that night. The sheriff sent someone. And we had about 75 people show up upstairs at the town hall for that first informational meeting. And from that, we created the Abington Substance Abuse Coalition.
Wow. And I know he also helped you with one of your projects you were mentioning.
For the town of Abington? Yeah. He was a great help for the town of Abington. We had exceeded our sewer capacity, and we ship our sewer through Brockton. and we couldn't do any more building in Abington. And when I became selectman, him and I reached an agreement that opened up 50% more sewer, and that's why you see all the construction in Abington today, and it's because of Bill Carpenter.
Wow. Did you deal with him at all?
No, but I was familiar with this champion program. It was one. I mean, there's a bunch of new initiatives really going out there to really try and help this epidemic, but that was the first of its kind that I had heard of, and it was implementing a lot of like recovery coaching and all these sorts of things, and giving it, really a place where people could come and not be afraid to show up and ask for help.
Nationally recognized program.
Absolutely, he should be. It was. I knew when people called from that area that I could just be like, you know what, champion program, look them up, go over there. They'll help get you placed if we can't.
So yeah, he will definitely.
He's definitely going to be missed.
You had some people you also wanted to acknowledge too.
Yeah, I'd like to, on a lighter note, some of our crew that's been here with us from the beginning. First of all, our cameraman, Dave Bowen. Interesting tidbit of information I just found out about him.
Oh, boy.
Remember when Tom Brady threw his 400th touchdown?
Yeah.
And the ball went into the crowd or whatever?
Yeah.
And Brady didn't have it? Well, that's the man that had it. And he gave it back to Tom Brady.
You just put a target on his back.
Yeah. He gave it back to Tom Brady. He met
nice.
him, gave it back.
You're a champ.
Yeah. So thanks for being
Not
part
many
of the
people.
program.
Thank you, Dave.
Not many people give the ball back.
Oh
I'll tell you
gosh,
that much.
No.
And another one of our cameramen is a current Board of Selectmen member and a member of the Board of Directors for Abington Community Access, which is why we're here, and that's Jim Conley.
All right.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
And a tidbit of information none of you know about my lovely wife, Lisa, who
She's the
is
boss.
the boss and the president of the Abington Community Access. In 2017, she was the Woman of the Year for Teen Challenge New England and New Jersey
All right.
for doing the 46-bed addition and project manager for the new dining room and kitchen over there.
Nice.
So-
Awesome.
Heck
Good stuff.
yeah.
And she's always behind the curtain.
Yes.
Look at that with the banana.
An
vest.
unsung hero.
So we got some great people that have been with us since we started doing this here in Abington, and I just wanted to acknowledge them and thank them for helping us out.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Good
guys.
stuff.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back on Crosscheck.
All right.
Yes, sir.
1, 2, 3, 4. Boston for Boston. Sing out and pray. For Boston till wisdom's earthly fame. For here are what hearts are true, and the towers of the heights reach the heavens of blue. For Boston till the echoes ring again. For Boston till the echoes ring again.
Welcome back to Crosscheck. I'm Andy Bernstein here with two-time Stanley Cup champion Kevin Stevens and his new bobblehead on the set. And joining us, as always, is Alex Bezanson, the official mayor of Abington. Maybe.
That's what you say.
Hey. And joining us now, we're really excited to have him. And he's the first person that actually wore a suit in here today.
I apologize.
No. We love it. It cleans up the place.
It makes us look classy.
Yeah.
It makes us look was the key.
That's right.
Joining us is Plymouth County, Massachusetts District Attorney Timothy Cruz. Tim Cruz, DA Cruz, has been serving in this capacity since 2002, and you are also the chairman of the Plymouth County Drug Abuse Task Force. And most recently, you have focused your efforts really on battling the opioid crisis. And you have a lot of different units that you try to help protect children, elderly, domestic violence, and others from abuse. So welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me here. Thanks for the work that you guys are doing. Getting the word out, is really a big issue. And that's why having programs like this and people talking about it is a very positive step in the right direction for a real terrible problem that we're all dealing with right now. So I thank you for everything you're doing.
Yeah, it's good great to have you here. Why don't you tell us a little bit like what you guys are doing? I know you're doing a lot, so it's kind of like probably a tough question, but
Well, normally, what we do is in the traditional role of the prosecutor here in Plymouth County and Massachusetts, we prosecute people that violate the law and we put those cases forward. But what we've seen happening over the years is we have expanded our role to really preventative stuff and being a non-traditional role. And one of the biggest issues that we see, unfortunately, especially over the course of the last decade or so, is the uptick in the fatal opiate overdoses as well as non-fatal overdoses. Because troopers that work for me, we deal with all the homicides and suspicious deaths that occur. The troopers that work for me will show up at scenes, and we were seeing a plethora of people who were passing away. So when you watch your numbers start going up, you say, something's going on here, something's wrong here. And you start hearing what's going on a national basis, and also here in the Commonwealth with prescription meds, and now we're back with heroin and opiates and things such as that. We continue to make sure we try to deal with the changing problems that we have here, from heroin to fentanyl to carfentanil. It's incredible. So what we've done is we put together, myself and Sheriff McDonald, about in 2015, in working together and trying to put together the Plymouth County Drug Abuse Task Force, which is really kind of a clearinghouse of best ideas. Because I'm just a lawyer from Brockton, you know, and I work with a lot of good people who know a lot of different things, whether they be medical or legislatively or judicial or faith-based, and trying to bring together the best team and best ideas to how can we get in front of this problem and what can we best do to help people here in the county who are dealing with this addiction.
Yeah, I think you guys work kind of with both parts of it, right? You guys are trying to prosecute people that are out there selling this. You know, you've probably seen that over the last 3 years. So, blossom high, and then we're trying to help the people. So you guys are on kind of the both sides of trying to prosecute and try to help, the people that are struggling. Yeah, I mean, and we have now in Plymouth County, we have 4 district courts, and we're the only county in Massachusetts that has a drug court in each of our district courts. And at the same time, my philosophy is let's help the people who we can help. Let's make sure we can save families, we can save kids, the next level of kids who are watching this stuff. I mean, how do you stop cycles of crime? How do you stop cycles of domestic violence, child abuse? We need to get to the kids at a younger level. We need to educate them better. And we also, like you just said, you're absolutely right. The drug traffickers and the drug dealers need to be held accountable and prosecuted. We need to remove the poison from the streets and get the people off the streets who are selling this stuff and killing people. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, and it's so important that we get out there and talk like you talk about prevention. I think prevention is the biggest thing because we don't want anybody to start these things, right? Once you guys kind of stick going on these pain pills or perks or whatever we want to call it, it's tough. It's really, really hard when you get to it, especially as a young person. Right. You're out there, with your friends and stuff, and you get rolling with this stuff, and it's important that we get out there. Even the people that don't want to listen, if we get in front of groups, some people are just sitting there killing time, but they might hear something, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that we do is we get out in front of people so they can hear how bad this thing is and where it can take you. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the peer pressure that kids feel from each other growing up, just take one. It's not that big a deal. There's nothing going to come of that. It happens. And so how do you tell those kids and try to prevent this stuff from happening and dealing with the kids who really need help? The kids who are right now dealing with we watch the numbers go up in our county. Last year in 2018, almost 70% of the people that had either a fatal or a non-fatal overdose were between the ages of 20 and 39. So those are childbearing years. Right. So you're talking kids are seeing this. So the kids are being they're getting what's known as our ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. How do you help these kids stay away from these high at-risk kids? How can we stop them from entering this world? The trauma. That's the challenge. Right. The trauma, absolutely. We've gotten grants here in our county. We've been very lucky to get a trauma-sensitive grant, and now we're hopeful we're going to be able to teach every school, every middle school, and teachers, custodians, people that work in the schools, how to be trauma-sensitive so we can get the resources and the help to people before these kids end up in a situation where they're taking something, trying something, and then before you know it, they're hooked, they're addicted, and we're dealing with that. So it's a real challenge, but I think what people should know is that we're really lucky here in our county that we have a lot of really good people working hard together, from the sheriff on down to all of our police chiefs, to all of our EMTs, our first responders. They do a remarkable job, and I think they've made a difference and they've saved people's lives. That was one of the questions on your website. It sounds like overdose numbers are actually down from 2017. Yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the Department of Public Health just came out with an overall Commonwealth of Massachusetts study, which indicated between 2017 and 2018, the overall numbers are down 1%. Plymouth County numbers in that same time period are down 26%. And in the last 6 months, from January through June 30th of this year, they're down another 26%. And I think that a lot of that is due to Plymouth County outreach, which is really what the police put together. Plymouth County really seems to be
the county that's really taken hold on this and to try and do something over the last few years. Like I said, when I got elected in 2015, there was no coalition or anything in Abington. And I think since in the last 4 years, a lot of people have seen, what's going on and getting involved. And then the police chief started the program.
Right.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, the follow-up program, and maybe tell us a little bit about the drug courts.
Sure. I mean, outreach really emanated out of the task force, and it really started with the two chairs of our public safety subcommittee, Chief Scott Allen from East Bridgewater and Chief Mike Botteri of Plymouth. They put together outreach, which is kind of a version almost of the Champion Plan, in that basically within 12 to 24 hours of a non-fatal overdose, a recovery coach and a plainclothes police officer will show up and offer services, offer help, because one of the biggest problem continues to be the stigma of people who are dealing in these drugs. They're embarrassed to come forward. And I always say, well,
and they're afraid to come forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now we've had changes in our law, Good Samaritan laws, things such as that, which have been very positive. But, we still need to get the services to the people. And I think that, when I talk to prosecutors across the nation, and they hear what we're doing here in Plymouth County, especially with outreach, which we have all 27 police chiefs have signed on to an MOU to make sure that they will do this and share information and real-life data, real-time data. They asked me, how do you get 27 police chiefs to agree today's Wednesday? Yeah. Never mind the fact that they're all going to agree to do this. And you know what? They're committed men and women here, and they've seen our numbers, and they've seen that it works. So now I get calls. I'm on the board of the National DAs. I get calls from across America asking us, what are you guys doing out in Plymouth County? Right. And, go on our website or call us up. We will help. It's no pride of authorship. Everybody needs this stuff and take it and tweak it for their own needs, for their own individual communities. And I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, and it's proven it's making a difference in Plymouth County.
And I think it's important, this disease, it doesn't pick and choose, right? So it's like you said, you got 27 counties and you got 27 offices working together, because it doesn't matter where this thing is. It's going to happen in their county. It's going to happen everywhere. And it's just like, if it doesn't pick and choose who this thing's going to take, if you try it and you want to play around with it, like you can activate something, and if you have this disease or this gene in your brain, it's going to affect you, and it's important that we're out there all over the place and everywhere.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I always say there's no zip code. It doesn't matter if you're from Hingham. It doesn't matter if you're from Brockton. You can have it. Yeah. And so therefore, what are we going to do about it? And the next step is, like I said, it's so important to get effective treatment for people right now, but it's just as important for the next layer of kids. And that's really where I think in trying to focus on the children to make sure that these drug endangered kids who are facing some real challenges when mom and dad, if they split up or if they pass away, and we've seen in Plymouth County, we've seen our care and protections, which are regarding kids. Kids are being taken from their parents. Right. They're ending up with their grandparents. How do you stop that sort of problem? And how do we make sure we can get them the resources they need? And that's
like you said, it's the parents that are doing the drugs.
Right.
That's the age. And the focus needs to be, my opinion is the middle school is where we need to start and really continue the focus there. And that's what we've done with the Abington Substance Abuse Coalition, is change our mission to prevention. And we're bringing speakers into the schools. And Kevin, we did a show a couple of weeks ago in South Boston. We went to a hockey group, and Kevin spoke there. We'll go where the crowds are, and that's what we have to do, because.
And Alex, it means such a big deal, I think, for somebody like Kevin or Chris Herron or somebody who has risen to really athletic glory, and then have fallen back a bit. Exactly. And going out and talking, kids listen to you. Yeah, that's why it's important, because they all emulate you, but at the same time they also want you've got a story to tell, and I think it's really important for the kids to hear that. Yeah,
it's like I said, it's a story, like you can use your voice, and I think that's important, like for me and for people that people will listen to, because. We're not going to help everybody, that, and but if we can get up in the morning and help one person, save their life, then, it's worth it, because I know how many people have lost their lives, and I know how hard it is to get off this stuff once you get stuck on it.
Right. And that's why, continuing to work together here in our county, and also working on a statewide basis or a national basis makes a big difference. Yeah. And I just applaud the efforts that everybody's making, because I think it has saved people's lives.
What is your approach? We kind of talked about this offline, but what is your approach now to trying drug offenses? How do you How do you approach that? Has it changed at all?
You know, I think our sentencing has changed. You know, here in Massachusetts, they've changed some of our minimum mandatory jail sentences. But I think minimum mandatory jail sentences for me are an essential tool as to what I do. Because what we need to do, what my goal is very simply, I want to get more guns and drugs off the street because unfortunately they go hand to hand when you're dealing with dealers and traffickers.
Right.
You know, they're protecting their turfs with these very serious weapons, and that's where you get shootings and violent things that occur. So to me, I think that, you know, when you deal, if I can use an individual who gets arrested with a modicum of drugs or guns or whatever it may be, if you give me more guns and drugs, you give me the guy above you, I'm going to talk to you. If not, I'm going to hold you accountable. And because I believe that the stuff that you're selling, and heroin's nothing new. I mean, when I was a young prosecutor back in the 80s, heroin was here. You know, it was 18, 20% pure. Now you're talking it's 90, 95% pure. They're selling pure poison. And they're not addicted themselves. I'm not talking about the people that keep their habits going. I'm talking about the people who are making money on the backs of people who have an addiction.
Right.
Those people need to go to jail.
For a long time.
Exactly. And that's what we've been doing here in Plymouth County for a long time. And I think the word is out. You know, you may want to go somewhere else. That's what I want the bad guys to understand is that, you know, we're here, we're going to help everybody we can help. But at the same time, we are going to make sure we put those people in jail that deserve to be in jail. And I think it makes a difference.
And I guess my other question is why is Plymouth County one of the biggest opioid hotspots in the first place? Nationally, right?
Well, I don't know if it's national, but it definitely was one of the biggest ones here in Massachusetts. And so you're talking about, you know, our hotspots, especially when we started this, where it was, you know, Brockton was obviously our urban community, and that's where a lot of individuals were going to sell and/or buy drugs. As a matter of fact, when you look at a lot of our overdoses and why Plymouth County Task Force and the outreach is so important, we find out people are coming to Brockton to buy their drugs, and they're using their drugs in Brockton and perhaps overdosing here, but they're not from here. So they were coming here, which is why we put a lot of our resources into the city. And I think when you look at some of those areas, whether they be, you know, other big areas where Rockland was unfortunately a big area, Wareham, Carver, Southeastern Mass was a big areas for us. And I think that when you're dealing with those areas, you need to focus on them and let the individuals who, like I said, are selling these drugs understand that you're going to come after them. And at the same time, I think people have to understand that, you know, we need to make sure that we're providing services for what we can and getting people in there. I mean, people forget, you know, East Bridgewater Hope was a drop-in center that really, you know, John Cowan was the chief of police of East Bridgewater a few years back. That's morphed into Plymouth County Hope. We now have 3 drop-in centers here. That's a huge issue for people to go out, and usually it's family members. You know, family members don't know what to do. If your child, if your uncle, your brother, whoever, you know, needs help, you don't know where to go. Is there a place for me to go and get some information and then make a determination? How can I get this stuff to my loved one? Because let's face it, if any of our loved ones had this problem, we would do whatever we could do to save their lives. And that's the way that I look. That's why it's important to continue to do trainings with Narcan. We train police officers, make sure the hundreds, if not thousands of lives that have been saved with Narcan. Get that stuff out there. Education at the schools, whether it be, you know, talking about overprescription medications and talking to dentists and doctors and changing the laws so they don't give you 60 medications when you don't need it. You can take 2 Advil and leave, and it does the same thing. You know, getting that word out, I think, has been a challenge, but I think we're making a little ground, you know, on a statewide basis, but we're also making significant ground in our non-fatals and fatals here in Plymouth County. And I think that we got to stay on it because, you know what? One death is too many. And I've talked to too many people who have lost too many people in their families. And I don't want to have any more of those conversations. I want to make sure people say, well, what are you going to do about it? So we need to make sure, like I said, we go after these individuals and we charge them with what we can charge them with. We had a conviction in Wareham of manslaughter allegation against a known fentanyl dealer who was selling these drugs and was killing people and killed a young woman there. Those are very difficult cases to prove because many times they're selling to people who are addicts who don't want to give up their dealers because they're still using. So how do you tie that up? So you go after people's phones, you get their texts, you get their emails, and you see if you can put those cases together. That guy got 8 to 10 years in Cedar Junction, which was a good whack for what we were looking for, to send the message out that if you're going to put this stuff on the street, we're going to continue to pursue you. And I think that they understand that, and I think we've made some headway, but you know, we got a long way to go.
And in our closing minutes, can you speak a little bit about Mayor Carpenter? Because I'm assuming you
Yeah.
guys work very closely together.
Yeah, we did. I mean, obviously, a lot of our public safety issues, and as well as our drug addiction issues, we worked together, whether it be through the Champion Plan and also a Safe Streets Initiative, Project Safe Neighborhood, dealing with the urban violence in the city, and it made a lot of progress for us. And we've seen our gun violence numbers go down significantly in the last couple of years, and a lot of that is because of the cooperation that occurs between state agencies, federal agencies, the DA's office, sheriff's department. Lots of places don't have that cooperation. There's a lot of territorial issues. And I think the mayor was great in trying to put down boundaries. So that, listen, no pride of authorship. What can we do to solve with this issue and deal with this issue? And I think it made a real difference, and it's a real loss for us in the city of Brockton and also in the county of Plymouth.
Yeah, it's terrible. And I think that you guys are doing a great job. I think it takes so many people, right? It's such a big program, and like what you're doing, leading the way, and the officers and everybody that's involved. It's kind of the only way that we're going to get kind of help with this thing. We're not going to stop it, obviously, but like you said, we can help people today. Then that's all we can. That's all we can do, and worry about it tomorrow. But it's amazing what you guys are doing, because it is such a big thing, and we need everybody on board. Kind of pulling the rope.
Right now, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, and the numbers prove that we are making progress in Plymouth County,
Right.
more so than other places in the state and the country. Like I said earlier, that it's because everyone comes together and everyone realizes there's a problem, and they're just doing it.
Holistic. They all work
Right.
together and across.
Across non-traditional allies, right?
Right.
I mean, many times you talk to people of groups of faith-based. They look at me as well. You're just a guy throwing people in jail. When now that they've got to know us and what we're doing, they say you're not doing that.
Right.
You're educating. You're helping people, and you're helping save families. And at the same time, you're doing your job. And sometimes that's a tightrope that you got to walk. But when in doubt, you try to do the right thing. I mean, I'm human like everybody else. I'm going to make mistakes. Right. But you know what? And nothing ventured, nothing gained, and that's why getting the word out, talking about the issues that we're dealing with
Coming
here,
on Crosscheck.
Coming on Crosscheck.
This has been great, and you know what? It really has been. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come here, and I appreciate the work that you're doing here in Abington and also the adjoining communities. It makes a difference. I mean, you guys are having a great time here and a lot of fun here, and that's great. But the message is important, and it's making a difference. And I just commend you, and I ask you to please keep it up.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
DA Tim Cruz. Oh, can you give me your website?
I probably can't.
Okay. We'll give
We'll
your
get it
website.
up there.
We'll get it up there. Thanks for coming on, and we'll be right back on Crosscheck.
1, 2, 3, 4. Boston, for Boston, sing out your refrain. For Boston, till listen thirsty flame. For here our water hearts are true, and the towers on the heights reach the heavens are blue. For Boston, till the echoes ring again. For Boston, till the echoes ring again.
Welcome back to Crosscheck. My name is Andy Bernstein, here with two-time Stanley Cup champion, the pride of Pembroke, Massachusetts, and the bobblehead.
Nice.
You're not excited about the bobblehead.
The bobbleheads, they've been around a long time. There's a lot of bobbleheads up there. I'm more excited about his. I mean, who's in mine?
Right. With the cup. He's got the cup. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to our next guest, John Fanning from the Mass State Police Homicide Division. He's a sergeant.
Yes. Yep.
Along with John Greene from the No First Time program and the Evan Greene Foundation. And they both know the incredible pain of losing, he and his wife both know the incredible pain of losing a child to drugs, and they are the parents of Evan Greene. Evan was 19 when he died from a heroin overdose. And Sergeant Fanning shares his own personal story about a childhood impacted by addiction. And so together you guys have partnered up with the No First Time program.
Yep.
So welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome, guys. Yeah, both Stoughton guys, but yeah. It's funny, but
We made it out.
Yeah. I guess Johnny, kind of go ask, obviously Evan was 19 years old, and what are the signs, like, you kind of talk to people like what, before this happened, what were the signs, like what did you see, or was it a struggle? Did it just happen? Was he involved with drugs for a little while?
It was a progression.
Okay.
Maybe at the age of 12 to 13, hanging out with his friends, always energy
Yeah.
out of his mind, just playing sports and skateboarding, snowboarding, all that good stuff, quads, and then you see it progress to not doing that no more.
Yeah.
You know, and then the different people he's hanging with, and then a girl getting into his life who was kind of involved in that as well, a little older, and just major influence on him. It takes that one time. That's what we talk about. One time, that bad choice you make, that's going to change your life, and not just your life, everyone around you.
Yeah, no question. That's like you said. It affects so many different people, and like you say, it's like he's riding motorcycles, he's playing sports, and all of a sudden, it's progression, and addiction. Right? You hit that point where none of that stuff means anymore. Right?
Nothing. And you start seeing it. Start all of a sudden, you get him a nice snowboard.
Yeah. Nothing.
Where'd it go?
Yeah.
Nice snowboard. Out the door. Oh, Dad, I left it here. Right? He's trading. At the time, people were trading things, so it's like, all right, trade for this, trade for that. Everything just going. Where'd this go? Where'd that go? Yeah. And then and then lying to you, like you're trying to save him. You're looking at it and you're seeing, you're like, how do I save? What's he doing? Is it just like I did, smoking weed when I was young, and it's different? Yeah. Right. I'm thinking he's just on a path. He's young. They need outlets. Yeah. Kids need outlets.
Yeah. And like you said, the outlets, and then the shock, right? I think that's the biggest thing. You lived it, the shock of getting that call saying, no one ever thinks it's going to be them. I never thought I was going to get, die, because it was me. I wasn't, I couldn't do anything, right? Yeah. But I was going to die. That's just, it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. But, no one ever thinks that can be them. So it happens too late, right? And that's right. That's a terrible thing about it.
It is. It's a life-changing forever.
Yeah.
I'll never ever smile at that. My only son, gone, and it's heartbreaking.
And then you started your foundation.
I did. I actually want to start a legacy for him, because here he is, 19, thought he was a loser, drug addict, and I ended up reaching out to Charlie Baker, who I was doing some stuff for, donated some phones for, and then he heard our story, and he wanted to do something, so he vowed to do something. And then here he is. All of a sudden, I go to his inauguration, and he puts my son's name in his inauguration speech. So I thought that was amazing. Here's a kid that really thought he was a loser with nothing, and here he is on a platform of this addiction. His name, So it's awesome. It's pretty special. That so I live for his legacy.
That's awesome. Good stuff.
And then you guys connected. Mm-hmm. Tell us the story about how you and the sergeant.
Yeah.
Connected.
So.
You can just call me John. That's
John, okay.
That's good enough, Andy.
Okay.
We
Thank you, though. I appreciate that.
We connected at actually Charlie Baker's inauguration party, right?
Right.
We see him. I haven't seen him in a while, and we're talking, and he was telling me about his story with his parents and stuff. And I said, he said, sorry, I heard about your son, and he said, we should probably get together and do something. I'd definitely like to do it, and I had something on my mind already. I had no first time on my mind. We had our first golf tournament with. We had Chris Herman there. We had Mayor Carpenter there. We had the governor there. So those are big things that these people stepped up to me that didn't know my son and wanted to help. And there's been some big change in the last 5 years. So that John's like, whatever you need. Made the call. He came by. We put heads together, and he's one of our biggest speakers and presentators for our no first time presentation.
So Johnny, how did you get involved? So obviously you grew up with addiction, like with your family and stuff like that. So how did you get involved in this? It means so much to you.
Right. Yeah. So no, I think just I'll give you a little bit of my story. So you have a little bit of a backdrop, which I think is the most important. And part of my component to know first time is one, speaking with the kids about my story of hope. And then also, which I think is really important, and it's important to me, but then also an educational component about opiates and the dangers of opiates. So I grew up in the, before Stoughton, I was in the projects of South Boston. My whole family came from there, and both my mother and father were alcoholics and drug addicts. So, my father was in and out of jail, and he was doing heroin in the 70s and 80s. And my mother was an alcoholic. I was really a mama's boy. She took care of me. She really helped raise me and my sister. And we had great outside family support. And sports was a huge thing for me, playing hockey. Once we got out of South Boston, we moved to Stoughton into public housing out there. I thought I was a millionaire living in a duplex in Stoughton. That was brand new. But, for me, sports was a huge outlet. And that's what a lot of what I talk about now with, coaching hockey and things like that. and then, just having that discipline. But there were so many friends and friends' parents that like, let me stay over. They drove me to and from hockey or drove me to and from baseball, fed me, and really provided an example of what, they say normal families, but really non-addicted families in kind of more of a traditional setting. So I think the biggest point, though, going forward there is, most of my grandparents, they were alcoholics too. They recovered. And so I was just waiting for my parents to recover. But then here we hit the early 2000s. Now I needed a little direction after high school. I was going to play hockey at a few colleges, Division III colleges. That didn't pan out. And so the Marines came calling, which was really good timing for me. So I come out of the Marines and we're in the midst of the pill epidemic. And, obviously no one knew that at that time. So my father turns from heroin to prescription pills, and my mother turns from an alcoholic to a prescription pill addict. And, that's, we're talking 2002, 2003. I just became a Stoughton police officer. And, we were on a wild ride now then for the next 10 years, basically. I have 5 kids. I buy the first house. I'm going to college. I'm excited for this next part of my life. And, my parents are in the midst of this deadly pill epidemic. And so I lost my father 9 years ago in February. I always tell people, if we don't think this is serious, he was doing heroin in the 70s and died of pills in the 2000s. My mother didn't directly die from a drug overdose. She died of COPD. She was only 53, but she overdosed many times. It was a culmination of alcohol, drug abuse, and, smoking. So, really, that's a little, it's a long story, but in about 20 minutes, that's what I'm trying to send the message to the middle schoolers, like you guys were talking about previously, that, there's people like me sitting there. You can do it. You can make it. It takes work. It takes a community. And now here we are in a different place where you all are trying to help people, and we're trying to help people, and Tim Cruz, and it's really awesome seeing what we're seeing.
So with the No First Time program, so John, I was going to call you Sergeant. So John speaks, and then you also have other speakers too.
Yeah. Usually Stephanie speaks. She tells a little bit about Evan's story. And then after that, we have somebody with hope, somebody in addiction, long-term recovery, like a Pat Cronin, Matt Gannum, Kevin Rosario. And these guys, they've lived it. They know how to stay sober.
Right. And I think it's important, like you guys, to have different speakers. Like John, like your family was more addicted. You stayed out of it. You were lucky, and then you're here and you're living a good life, and the things can be good. It doesn't matter that your whole family was addicted or whatever. Your sisters, brothers, there was people that weren't, but you survived. And then you talk about your son that gets in with the wrong people, and all it takes is like. It's not even a bad decision about doing the drugs. It's a bad decision who we hang out with, right?
Most definitely.
That's the biggest thing, right? If you hang around positive people, like I say, positive things usually happen, right?
You're right.
You get high around these negative people, you make that one bad negative decision.
And it follows you.
And you're going to chase that, then you're stuck. And that's what happens. But it's important that you guys are out there, because we need so many people to work, because you guys know. And you see it out there as a cop, and you're a crime. You go with crime when people overdose and stuff. You see it, and it doesn't matter where it is, right?
No, and that was one of the messages. So I tie in really this piece about my actually funny story. When we met Bill Carpenter, John had a connection with him, and there's so many tie-ins. When I came here today, I was thinking about it, but we came in. When you're going into schools, they want to have they want to know what you're going to do. Someone's got to take a risk on you. And so we had a meeting with Bill, and John and Stephanie said, hey, this trooper here is going to talk. And he's like, no, I don't want to hear from the trooper. They all have the same stories. Obviously not knowing my personal history. So, no, Mayor, you should listen to him. So we spoke a little bit, and, the mayor was impressed, not obviously, just with my message, but also the message of the group. And our first school 3 years ago was one of the Brockton middle schools.
Yeah.
And that set the tone for 30,000 kids in the last 3 years that we've educated. And it's unreal. And I just like to make that tie into Bill Carpenter and what he did for us as an organization. And, but the big thing is, after I talk about the personal thing is getting into a little bit of the stats. What Tim Cruz was talking about, I'm troopers, except I work for Michael Morrissey in Norfolk County. And I was telling Kevin earlier, Norfolk County is one of the top 20 wealthiest counties in the country. And we go to an overdose, fatal overdose, every other day. So we've been averaging 180 overdoses a year, give or take, in Norfolk County.
You guys save so many people too, right?
Those are just the fatals.
Yeah, that's a fatal.
What are the ages? What did you say?
Well,
Ballpark.
we've done anywhere from 16 to I did a 72-year-old 3 weeks ago. But I think the median age that we're looking at in Norfolk County is 44 years old. But we're about, I would say, generally speaking, from 20 to, that 50 age range is probably around the numbers that the DA was talking about. It's similar in Norfolk County. And, we're doing he's doing great work in Plymouth County and we're doing similar type of work in Norfolk County. One of the things we do is working with cell phones and trying to identify the dealers and things like that. But, we get this question a lot. What are the police doing?
Right.
What are the police doing to get these people off the streets? And that's a good question. The reality is, it's like McDonald's, right? I mean, if there's a need, people want to go eat cheeseburgers, they're going to go to McDonald's. So, and if McDonald's goes away, another cheeseburger company is going to come in. So it's not just, and I agree with the DA, it's not just about we should take these people off the streets, but we also really have to get this no first time message out. And it can be any message. That was my thing. And I told Kevin I was super jaded with the addiction process because no one recovered in my family.
Right.
Well, maybe two, but no one really recovered. So when he said no first time, I was like, that's it. I'm in. Let's do that. Let's go educate kids.
Yeah, you're right, because that is the biggest thing is that because drugs, drugs are going to be here. Like if I'm a drug addict and I want to find drugs, I can find them. Like, not everybody can, but there's drugs everywhere. I think the biggest thing that we can, you guys can do what you can do, but you can only do so much. The things we can do, like you said, no first time. That's the biggest thing. You can't do these things. You can't. It's just you don't have to, right? That's the biggest thing. We don't need these things.
Prevention. You get it beforehand.
Yeah.
Look at the money you'll save. $100 billion in this industry.
I heard that, right?
$100 billion.
Well, we were talking about treatment centers and stuff, and one of the things that we were saying is it would be good to have no treatment, to not have any, because people wouldn't be needing them.
We don't need them. Yeah.
So what is I guess my question is what has the response been from the parents and the kids to the program? How have they embraced it? Are they still, I don't want to deal?
It's been amazing. I know recently Red Sox won, right? So kids were going in, taking the day off. and then one of the parents messaged us saying, thanks to you, my son hearing that story didn't take the day. All those kids went in that day and got drunk. Yeah. And my son didn't go because of hearing your message. Yeah. And that one little thing was like, wow, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Prevent him from going there and going down that path. Yeah. Maybe we prevent him a year, maybe two, whatever. Yeah. Just help one kid. And that was a big thing for us to hear stuff like that. And we hear a lot.
Yeah. That's awesome.
There's really a lot of positive feedback. Our parents' nights, coalitions put us on all the time. Sometimes they're well attended, sometimes they aren't. And there's nothing you can do about that. With the kids, you obviously have a captive audience, which you had talked about earlier, Kevin. And that's great to have that captive audience. And, people, I don't know, I always think about two things. People who'd say, your parents are proud of you, John. I always knew my parents were proud of me.
But they were limited in what they could.
They were because of addiction. Right. But that was never a question. They were super proud of me and the things that we were doing, and they did the best they could, and they were great people. But I think it's the same message with this no first time thing is, and you said earlier, if you save one life, when you're doing this, there's no doubt we're saving lives. There's no doubt about it, because kids don't realize, and how would you know, unless your parents are talking to you about it, that 4 out of 5 heroin addicts started with prescription pills. I mean, this message has to be clear. And so, we get into a little bit of the chemistry. I worked as a drug recognition expert for the state police prior to becoming a homicide detective. That pill, we talk about opium, a plant, and we talk about the derivatives of opium. and how oxycodone is a derivative of opium. What's another derivative? Heroin. Hydrocodone, which is Vicodin. So the kids have to know, and this wasn't when we went to school, it was like this in high school, but it is now, that when you're taking that, you're just taking a much smaller dosage of heroin. And that's how, when we say, you know, what does a heroin addict look like? Well, it doesn't look like us here, right? But it didn't start that way. It started with a pill. And that's a nice, clean little thing you can do in your rich town if you want. But before you know it, you're going to Brockton or you're going to Quincy or Boston. And first maybe you're snorting it, but before you know it, you're injecting it in your arm. And that's the progression. So just that small little educational piece is going to make them understand why this progression happens. And that, you know, that's just a simple, it takes about 5 minutes to just lay that out for kids.
That's what you talk about.
It's basically progression, addiction, right? And it's like, and that's the biggest thing that we can do is get out there and talk to kids about it, and parents, right? Because the parents really don't, parents, and I know, in Duxbury or parents in Norway, they don't think their kid's ever going to get stuck on pills or stuck, we can try these. And dentist or doctor gives you 30 of them. They take them all because they say take them all. Next, it's, the kid starts to like it, and then, he's running around like a madman. But I think it has to educate everybody. And I think parents need to know about this stuff, just like, the kids obviously too.
Most definitely. I think, again, knowing your pain. I mean, you can feel a little pain once in a while. Take a Motrin or take an aspirin. I mean, don't just go heavy on it. And that's no one wants to feel the pain no more.
I know.
Where can people learn more?
So they can learn more from my actually No First Time page on Facebook, which is great. And then the evangfoundation.org is our website as well. And, we definitely like to do more, and we're here to help.
And as far as, so if somebody would like to have you come to the schools, they can just reach out.
Yeah, and we actually email nofirsttime@gmail.com.
Okay.
And they can get us that way as well.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you both for coming on.
Thank you.
Hope it was quick and painless.
No, it was good. Great.
Okay.
Guys doing great work. Keep
stuff.
it up.
Thanks for coming, guys. Good stuff. Thanks.
Thank you. Fight.
We'll be right back on Crosscheck.
1, 2, 3, 4. Boston, for Boston, we sing out everything. For Boston, till wisdom's earthly fame. For here our word, our hearts are true, and the towers on the heights reach the heavens of blue. For Boston, till the echoes ring again. For Boston, till the echoes ring again.
Welcome back to Crosscheck. I'm Andy Bernstein here with Kevin Stevens,
Two-time Stanley Cup winner.
two-time Stanley Cup winner.
I wish 5, but only 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two. It's 2 more than you have. And
It's 2 more than I have.
and that I have.
But I've
and,
seen the Stanley Cup.
and 2 more than this fella has.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Willie Drinkwater, addiction specialist.
Thank you.
He's
to be here.
been a part of our radio show.
Yeah, Willie. Nice.
The face for radio.
He
Yes.
will be
It's good.
Yeah, give us a little overview about yourself.
I have a private practice up in Beverly, North Shore person, and I'm an adjunct professor for UMass Boston in the Addiction Counseling Education Program.
And a former
Well, I can say it because they're no longer here, former WBCN Boston morning show person.
with
Part of the Big Mattress Crew with
Billy West.
Billy West and Charles Lockwoodera.
And your a former hockey goalie.
Le bon jour le hockey. Happiness is hockey. Yes, absolutely.
So you're going to be swinging by
I'll be swinging by. You're coming down from the North Shaft.
from the North Shore.
Yeah.
So no, it's good that you came to our set and seen.
He was on the radio when I was in your studio.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. He's an integral part of the team.
I know
An
that.
integral.
Very, very mellow person.
Very
Mellow,
calm.
laid back.
Very calm. Very
Integral.
Well, if he
Very
hung
calm.
around with Charles
What the hell is it? What's integral
Big
mean?
mattress, he's got to be mellow.
integral.
Yeah, integral, not integral.
Not integral. Integral.
That's what you said.
I know.
Is
It
that
was
like
in the-
integrity, sort of? But
I don't know. I made up my own word. Okay.
Thinks he's actually smart. He thinks it's these words.
All right. So.
So what are we talking about
Well,
again?
no. Why we're doing this show? We're doing this
that's
show.
right.
Why, Kev?
Yeah, to spread some hope, right? Obviously we had some great guests on here today. Like a lot of people that are trying to help. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like there's so many people out there. We don't realize, sometimes you don't realize how big, we realize how big this disease is, but there's so many people out there trying to make a difference, and that's all we can do. You know, we try to do the best we can, right?
And I think the DA hit the nail on the head when he said the numbers are way down in Plymouth County, and that's because there are so many different groups out there, like John Greene's foundation, like the work that the DA is doing, and the Abington Substance Abuse and EB Hope, and all these groups out there. They're all doing their little part to help the numbers go down in Plymouth County, and it's working.
Because the message continues
It's
to be
starting to get out there.
hammered home.
Education, we're seeing more and more education from an earlier age, and I think it tends to get people into treatment faster if they do have a slip up or shake up.
It's still like crazy though. Like Johnny said, there's one every other day of fatal overdose. That's we think if you really sit back and think about that, that's kind of crazy.
That's a lot of people,
and they're saving a lot. These are fatal ones,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Plymouth County is awesome, though, what they do. I mean, with the Drug Take Back Day, which Kevin and I attended, we've done them twice. And this last year it was at Walmart.
Yeah.
And they raised a ton. And the things you do, and obviously things you do up in the North Shore, but you're still, you talk a lot about mental health.
Yeah.
Too, and dual diagnosis.
Underlying symptoms and causes a lot of times.
Right.
So, yeah.
So rather than just,
looking at the whole picture.
Right.
Right. The whole mental health picture.
Right. And so that, so all these things really allow us to, try to get the word out.
They all add up, and everyone doing their little part. It's starting to show.
So other than that, I think it was a great show.
Great show.
If people need help, they can reach out to us.
They can reach out to powerforward25.com. They can reach out to the Abington Substance Awareness Coalition, and they could reach out to our Hug Foundation, and we can help them out too.
Awesome. Well, that's our show for the week. Please visit us on powerforward25.com/crosscheck. And we also have our Facebook page.
We do now.
And we have a Twitter page.
We have a Twitter page, and we have a Kevin Stevens page now.
I don't know about those pages. I don't know who's controlling those pages.
Yeah, right.
It's not me.
Ghostwriter. Yeah, Ghostwriter.
I got one page. It's called the text.
Let's
It's on my
give
phone.
a shout out to
It's on my phone.
to Kevin Bly that's handling all of
Kevin Bly, and thanks to Martin's for all their support and
their food today for the staff.
And City Boston Credit Union, Boston Financial Management, Washburn House. These are all great supporters of our foundation.
They are.
Power Forward and the show. So that's our show. We'll see you next week on Crosscheck.
Bye.
Bye-bye.